management? Who is that? He has like no videos. Oh, he does. Okay, so you want me to watch this?
Okay. Hello
Sure.
everyone, my name is Aragon. I'm a Grandmaster Toplaner and Toplane Positional Coach, and in this video I'm going to explain a way of how to get early prio in lanes that you should. So this is more so aimed at a higher level play.
There's no video.
But it's never bad, obviously, to learn if you're learning those two.
Alright, let's watch.
I'm going to have to go over a fundamental early wave management and just that in general at the beginning of this video, as it's like what this video sort of builds off of, you know. So not everyone knows this. Some people do. If you video on that.
Did he just say how to get prio in lanes that you shouldn't? How do you do that? Managing. Okay, wait. How do you do that?
I'm giving you the basics. So
it's not even possible.
Here's a brief rundown on the first three waves and managing that for people who aren't sure. Most people, they know that you should slow push the first and second wave, right? This is quite common, and then crash the third wave, right? And most of the time, the biggest mistake I see people do is they default to cheetah recalling, and that's all they know about the whole thing. But like, that's a sort of like, that's a branch, that's an option, not a thing you do it for. That's not why you crash third wave. More importantly, it's because when you crash third wave, it also gives you like a timer, like a window or tempo to contest scuttle grab and secure for your jungler. So that's why third wave crash is so important, right? There's also other reasons, but again, I'm glossing over everything.
Well, you could crash fourth wave. The crab spawns on the fourth wave, not the third wave.
For enemy top laner, when you crash third wave, they're stuck under tower farming, and crab spawns at 3 minutes 15, and generally the crash happens at about 3 minutes. So you can just go over, secure for your jungler, and the enemy jungler is sad.
Yeah.
Right. So
if you can't say you can get priority in lanes that you shouldn't, because that's not possible. Like if I'm Garen and you're playing Quinn, I'm not getting prio. Not getting prio.
So, often people want to third wave crash, but what I'm going to teach you
But it's fine, doesn't matter.
What to do if the enemy top wants to third wave crash, and they can third wave crash, and I want you to learn to deny it, okay? And this is how you actually get prio for crab when you shouldn't. Basically, the idea is to force the enemy top lane to crash second wave, which is generally really bad, because a top laner can't do anything with a second wave crash. The time is all wrong. There's nothing to do on the map.
I agree.
You don't get much tempo off of crashing two waves. So it's really important that we abuse when they second wave crash.
My question is, how do you get someone else to make a mistake? Shouldn't they just be making the mistake? You can't just make the guy crash the second wave. He has to willingly crash the second wave. I do agree with his point where he says if the top laner crashes the second wave, he's off timer because he doesn't have access to the third casters. I went over this in the TF Blade video I did yesterday with the I think it was like the day before yesterday. I didn't stream yesterday, but TF Blade crashed two waves and he couldn't get access to the third, therefore it was like really awkward. He was like trending me into Garen, I think. So I mean, how are you gonna make the guy crash the second wave?
Crash, and we can also force it to. So that's the big theme of this video. Anyway, I've just got notes, and I'm pretty bad at tracking them. 1 second.
What's up, Iron? 4 is Iron.
Yeah. So another reason that second wave crash is super bad is because when the enemy top laner crashes second wave, you actually get to hit the third wave first. And when you get to hit the third wave first, that means you get to hit level 3 first. And then you could take a trade on level 3 to level 2 as an advantage, you know? And that way, that's how you actually get
This is all
prio.
fine.
You take the trade on the level advantage, and you actually chunk them. So, I've got a video, I'm going to show you how to do that. Afterwards, like, I'm going to help you visualize it, because I realize this is a big, kind of knowledge bomb probably to a lot of people. So, you can do this anytime that the top laner should get prio. They crash second wave by accident. Maybe they overforce. Maybe they're not being careful enough, because I see that a lot. Or you can actually force the enemy top to second wave crash. So to force the enemy top to second wave.
That's the thing. That's the part I disagree with. Right. The second orange point. It's fine. This is all pretty common knowledge. But the third one is like, how can you force an opponent to make a mistake? If I'm playing, I don't know. If I'm playing like Jax and you're Camille, how can I make you hard crash second wave in order to get control of wave 3 and then deny a cheater? I can't just make you do that unless you're bad, you know what I mean? So now what this guy is saying is that he's saying that you can somehow force the opponent to do that. So you can cheat a cheetah recall, but how do you do that? Because the term cheetah recall comes from the fact that there's no counterplay.
What you do is you trade with the enemy top lane on the first, second wave, and I know you lose these, that's why you can't get prio, but you sacrifice your HP to make them over push. And then you get an ideal lane state, right? So you obviously, this is a really hard thing to do, this is like a fine line you have to...
You sacrifice your HP to force the opponent to push, but what does trading have to do with shoving the lane? You can still trade with the opponent without shoving the wave. In fact, if you force a trade, you're doing the opposite of pushing. Or you're doing the opposite of what you want to do, because his minions would encroach on you, therefore your minions would shove faster to the opponent, which means that the opponent would have a less issue crashing the second wave. This is literally, it doesn't make sense.
Trade, right? If you overtrade, you'll be too low to take the trade, to like contest when they crash second, and then you'll be too low to take the trade on level 3. But you trade with level 3 to 2 advantage after forcing them to second wave crash. And that way, you've got private crab, because that's the time for crab too. You'll have ideally chunked them out or pushed them away. So, I'm actually gonna...
He has to show me.
A video. I just missed something actually. So, just a little thing before I showed the video on like an example.
Logistically, it doesn't make any sense.
This doesn't work in every matchup. Obviously, some matchups you just cannot trade against in the first 2 waves.
There you go. You can't do that in most matchups. In some matchups. I shouldn't say most, but in some matchups you can't do that. But that's like contradictory of what he said earlier, that you could do this in every matchup. Because he said you could do this in every matchup, but you can't. And now he's saying you can't do it in some matchups. In some matchups you can. That I get it. But anyways, whatever. Let me see what he's.
I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but like something versus Darius, for example, is just a nightmare. So sometimes you can't do this. But it does work very well against champions that AoE trade. Stuff like Volibear, push really fast. Urgot, if you like force them to trade into you, they're gonna AoE the wave like mad. They're gonna realize, oh, I'm pushing too fast, I've got to crash second wave, right? So, this example is a matchup that I played earlier today on my D1 Smurf. It's Set versus Volibear, and granted he doesn't play properly, right? But there's nobody does, first of all, and 99% chance that he's not thinking this in depth about the wave, right? So. Here's the video.
I mean, in D1 they don't do that. I will answer questions in a minute.
Okay, so what's gonna happen is I'm gonna...
Yes, it makes sense to now. It does make sense to me now, what he's saying now. Set into Volibear, that makes sense. But you must set up conditions. Exactly. You have to have conditions for this video to be correct. Yeah, what he's saying is right. Actually, what he's saying is correct. It makes sense now. But, like, the way he was presenting the information was confusing, because logically it doesn't add up, right?
I'm going to take a few trades. Now, granted, this guy plays it a bit poorly, but it's fine. You can force this. You can trade, sacrifice some HP, because there's no way I win trades versus a grass volley, right? I'm going to let him push into me.
Okay, well, that was terrible by Volibear. He should never have done that. He doesn't need the shield. I don't know why he did that.
Okay, this is what he's doing. I can't walk up, because grass volley gets pyro into almost everything.
Yeah.
And you see how he's pushing, right? To keep up his passive stacks, to keep up his grasp. And I'm going to walk up and trade a bit, you know, and he's pushing now. And, like, he's really pushing fast, right? So I'm not just going to sit back and let him crash third. That's the big mistake I see everyone make. You contest it. And now he's pushing...
Well, he doesn't... Wait. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I was kind of excited, too. Because he was saying something that was, like, really, like... cheating a cheater recall, which is something you can't hear, that's not heard of, right? So this Volibear doesn't have to crash this wave. You see how he's autoing the wave here?
That's the big mistake I see everyone.
Hold on. You see that auto? No reason for he doesn't have to auto that wave. He already has level 2 advantage. Granted, he misplayed his shield ability. I forgot what ability that is actually, on what button that is, but that was terrible. The walk-in and getting E'd by Set was obviously a mistake, but it wasn't that big of an error considering he can just cheat a recall anyway, whatever. His E, thank you. Yeah. the thing about this video is that he doesn't have to. You see how he's autoing right now?
You can test it.
He doesn't have to auto that minion.
And now
He doesn't have to auto that one again.
oh, he's pushing and he's realized, oh,
Doesn't have to auto again, right?
crap, I'm pushing way too fast. I've got to crash. Okay.
He actually doesn't have to. Well, I mean, yeah, now he has to crash. It's fucking doomed.
So he's got level 2 on. I respect it, and now I let him crush the second wave. And this is super bad for him, like we've said.
Okay, at this point the video is over. The example is done because at this point he doesn't have access to the casters, and he won't be able to get a proper cheater recall off, and he can't recall because he doesn't have a gold volley either, right? The only thing he can do now is he would have to just shove in the third wave, which again isn't very good. So I don't know. I mean,
And like the grass wall. Okay, but it's fine.
that's what I'm saying. He didn't exactly what I'm saying. He didn't do anything to force this Volibear to shove. He's saying trade with the opponent to force them to shove second wave. But look what he's doing. First of all, he didn't. That's a mistake. Let's just acknowledge that. He should never do that. Okay?
Okay, this is what he's doing. I can't walk up because grass volley gets prior into almost everything. And you see how he's pushing, right? To keep up his passive stacks, to keep up his...
The trade has nothing to do with anything.
And trade a bit, you know, and he's pushing now. And, like, he's really pushing fast, right? So I'm not just going to sit back and let him crash the...
Okay, we have to ask ourselves, what does this trade actually accomplish?
That's the big mistake I see
Literally nothing.
everyone make.
It's a good trade. We won. But it doesn't accomplish anything. This Volibear can still cheat a recall, despite the trade. All he has to do is just not last hit. Last hit. That's all he has to do. The trade doesn't do anything. No, the HP advantage is relevant. The trade has nothing... Well, the HP advantage is great. I mean, great. Good. We got a trade off. Who cares? The point is... It doesn't achieve any... It doesn't... This doesn't affect the speed at which Volibear shoves. The trade has nothing to do with the speed of the lane.
You can test it. And now... Oh, he's pushing and he's realized, oh crap, I'm pushing way too fast, I've got to crash.
At this point, he's messed up. But at this point, the example is over. If you force a trade onto the opponent, his minions will auto you, your minions will auto his wave. Let's say, for example, hypothetically speaking, this actually allows your wave to start pushing deeper into the opponent's minion wave. This is actually contradictory of what you want to be doing. Forcing a trade here would actually be technically bad. Here, this trade, for example, is fine, but I'm talking deeper trades inside of enemy wave. That's where the mistakes will end up happening, right? Where that's where like all these loyal players are like, oh, I'm gonna go into his wave and start trading. Even if you lose the trade, or even if you like somehow win the trade, whatever, right? It doesn't mean that it's good because your minions are autoing his minions, which means that your wave is pushing actually into the enemy, whereas his minions are autoing you. This actually allows the crash on 3 to be done a lot easier. It slows the wave down. It actually slows the wave down. And then the trade that this guy mentioned has nothing to do with the speed of the lane, right? I see what he's saying when it comes to concept, but the example is off, and I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, the example is off.
So you got level 2 on, I respect it, and now
He's not wrong when you say, oh, you should just... But, you know, it's funny, because what he's saying is actually more prevalent in mid lane than it is, like, in top lane, right? Because mid lane champions are more likely to have wave clear, they're more likely to have range, but the problem with mid lane is that, like, although you can still cheat a recall, the lane's a little bit shorter, etc., right? But, like, you know what I mean? Like, the whole... The video, the core concept of the video, to me, just doesn't actually add up.
Let him crush the second wave. And this is super bad for him, like we've said. If you crash second wave, you've got no temper to do anything. So he's just leaving. He doesn't know what to do. He probably went and got a ward or something, and it's just completely worthless, you know? If he managed his wave better, he could have crushed them. But now what you're going to see is how I have wave control, because he crashed
Yes,
second.
but you haven't done anything to
I'm
actually
going to ignore the bad CSing. I'm actually going to
That's fine.
hit the wave first. See, this is the third wave. This is the second minion of the third wave. You hit level 3, and I'm going to rush that. And now when he comes up, I'm level 3 to his level 2. When he had full prio, he has no reason to give me level 3 to 2, but that's because he overtraded and overpushed.
Well, he should never walk up to
So
now.
now I'm going to run up to him,
Yeah.
force a trade.
This is a mistake by Volibear. He should have realized he's going to hit 3. He should have backed off. He should have conceded lane. Because technically, although the lane doesn't look amazing, it's not terrible for Volibear. But what he's doing now is pretty bad.
I have prio. Level 3 to 2. In a matchup where I shouldn't. Right? Because he can, like, in theory, just keep me pushed under a third wave crash and help his jungler. Right? But he's absolutely fucked up. He just doesn't know, he probably doesn't even understand why he's been abused. And now we're going to win a fight off of it. And because of how Snowbally League is...
Well, you know what the funny part is? Even though he has prio, it doesn't actually negate the opponent from just showing up to the river, you know? Even if Volibear has no prio, he can still just show up. It's not like the wave is... He's not locked in the... There's a difference between the wave... Actually, Volibear he's fine right now. This Volibear is not as screwed as some people think he is right now. The wave is pushing into him. Although, yeah, he never got a third wave crash off. Whatever, it doesn't matter. That shit is irrelevant right now. The wave is pushing into him. He's actually fine in the lane. He doesn't mind, really. And he doesn't actually mind coming into the river either, because he's not... It's not like the wave is under tower. You haven't actually done anything, technically. I mean, he's literally... You can see the Volibear literally coming in right now. He doesn't mind coming in for this fight if he wins. Now, obviously, this is excluding what happens in mid lane. LeBlanc seems to have first move. I have no idea where the other mid laner is, but you get the idea, right? There's a difference between locking the opponent and just, like, having a state like this, where, like, I get if you somehow manipulated the lane state where you end up crashing the wave and you force him under the tower, yes, that's fine. But this doesn't achieve anything.
We're going to win crab fight from him being level 2 still.
Also, he could have gotten level 3 had he just autoed a little more after you had left and then joined you later. He joined late, but it doesn't matter. I think the lane is over now.
This likely just translates to the game, you know?
Yeah, the game is over here.
It's just over. And that's why...
Yeah, the game is just over here. Yeah.
So, I'm going to close that now. TLDR.
Okay.
This topic...
Okay, regardless, he's just going to summarize everything, which it doesn't make any sense. The video is pretty bad. I don't think this guy has... I'm sure he's Grandmaster, right? I'm sure he understands top lane, but the video doesn't make sense. Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. He hasn't actually done anything technically in the video, so I don't know. It's a little bit weird, but I'm gonna end it here.